Welcome and good afternoon. This is Commissioner Orr, and today I'm going to give a quick recap of the next four games in the Baseball Maelstrom Triple-Elimination Tournament using History Maker Baseball's all-time franchise great teams. So, I played four more games, and so I thought I'd give you an update on what happened. And the first game saw the number one seeded San Francisco Giants facing off against the Miami Marlins. And we had another takedown of the number one seed. Remember, we had the New York Yankees falling on the American League side, and now we have the Giants falling on the National League side as Miami, really thanks to Kevin Brown's amazing pitching here, he held the Giants in check, even though they made a late run, a crazy late run, actually. Kevin Brown did allow one run in the first inning on a Barry Bonds double, but after that, didn't allow another run. In fact, he only allowed 3 hits. He struck out 10 in 8 innings. Meanwhile, Christy Mathewson on the mound for the Giants, Carlos Delgado hit a 2-run shot in the first inning to get Miami on the board. They added a couple more runs in the 4th. And then a run in the 7th and the 8th to take a 6-1 lead into the bottom of the 9th. That's when Kevin Brown got some rest. And A.J. Ramos came in for Miami, and he didn't do so well. He walked Mel Lott to lead things off. Barry Bonds hit a 2-run homer. Willie McCovey followed that with a solo shot. And then just like that, the score was 6-4. After getting Willie Mays to fly out, Kevin Mitchell then hit a solo shot to make it 6-5. And that's when Armando Benitez came in to try to stop the damage. But it wasn't easy, as he walked the first 2 batters he saw before finally getting out of the jam and escaping with a 6-5 win. So Miami advances, San Francisco falls to the losers bracket. Next, we head over to Chicago as the Philadelphia Phillies franchise came to face the Chicago Cubs. And once again, we had Pete Alexander facing off against Three Finger Brown from the Cubs. Both pitchers pitching pretty well into the 5th when Derek Lee hit a solo shot to get the Cubs on the board. Then in the 7th, he added a 2-run homer to put the Cubs up 3-0. Meanwhile, Three Finger Brown took a shutout into the 9th inning. 3-hit shutout, actually, at that point. He got Chuck Klein to pop out to lead off the 9th. Then Dick Allen singled. And a couple of batters later, the Bull, Greg Lazinski, hit a 3-run homer to tie the game. Three Finger Brown trying to save himself there, but the very next batter, Mike Lieberthal, hit another solo shot, another home run, to give Philadelphia the 4-3 lead. And by then it was too late, even though Lee Smith came in to get the next 2 outs. Chicago was facing a 4-3 deficit at that point, and Tug McGraw came in for the Phillies to shut things down in the bottom of the 9th. So the Cubs basically looking like they're going to win this one easily. All of a sudden fell apart in the 9th inning there and dropped this one to the Phillies. Next, we head to Cincinnati as the New York Mets faced off against the Cincinnati Reds. And Doc Gooden in this one allowed just 2 earned runs on 5 hits, striking out 9 in 8 innings. Those 2 runs on a Frank Robinson 2-run double in the 6th. But by then, the Mets already had a 6-0 lead, thanks in a large part to the 5th inning here, when Darryl Strawberry hit a 2-run single, and a couple of batters later, John Olerud hit a 3-run homer to put them up 6-0 at that point. So Cincinnati would get a couple of runs, but when all was said and done, they fall to the Mets 6-2. If you've noticed, in every one of these games so far, home team lost. So what about the Homestead Grays facing off against the Washington Nationals? Once again, we had Homestead Grays, the Negro League team in the tournament, facing off against Pedro Martinez, who was, as you can see here, retired the first 12 batters he faced, striking out 5 of them. Looked like it was going to be a pretty quiet game for Homestead. Meanwhile, Washington put 3 runs on the board in the bottom of the 4th against Roy Wellmaker. And so they took a 3-0 lead into the 6th when finally the Homestead Grays got to Pedro Martinez here. Pedro having a little bit of a wildness there in the 6th inning. Or I should say, not as good as he was pitching the first 5 innings, as he allowed a couple of singles, walked a batter. Meanwhile, they did get on the board with their first run. But it was really the next inning that that Pedro kind of fell apart with his wildness here. He walked the leadoff batter, Vic Harris. Jerry Benjamin singled, and David Watley singled to load the bases up. It looked like he might get out of it when Pedro struck out the next 2 batters. But then he walked Matt Carlisle with the bases loaded to bring up Josh Gibson, who was hit by a pitch, just grazed him, to lead to another Homestead run that ended up tying the game at that point, 3-3. In the 8th, another walk by Pedro led to another run as Jerry Benjamin doubled, and David Watley ended up hitting a sac fly off of Tim Burke, the Washington reliever. They would get a run in the bottom of the 8th, Washington would, but that would actually take things into extra innings. But then in the 10th, an error by Al Oliver here actually led to another run scoring in the 10th for Homestead, which gave them a 5-4 lead, and that's where things ended. So Homestead advances, and as we can see here, all 4 National League teams, home teams, were beat. So let's take a look at where we are in the bracket here. As a reminder, here's the American League bracket. We've played the Ruth region so far. I named the regions because they pretty much stay with the regions throughout until the end here. So next on the list will be Seattle taking on Toronto tomorrow in game time. The Chicago White Sox taking on Detroit. But before that happens, we'll finish off the first day of games, which is Texas at Cleveland, Tampa Bay at LA, the LA Angels, I should say, Oakland at Houston, and Baltimore at Boston. See down here in the losers bracket, we already have half of the losers bracket first day filled out, as the Yomiuri Giants will take on the New York Yankees. Kansas City faces off against Minnesota. And if we head over to the National League, in the Maize region, we have Miami facing off against Homestead. and the New York Mets facing off against the Philadelphia Phillies. All 4 of these lower-seeded teams. Now, the way I do it in the tournament is, first of all, as a reminder, the teams are seeded based on their franchise win-loss record. The only difference with that being the Yomiuri Giants and the Homestead Grays. Those I brought in as number 9 seed, kind of in the middle of the pack. Since they didn't play against the major league teams, I didn't want to use their win-loss record to seed them. So I kind of just put them in the middle. And then in the tournament itself, the higher seeded team always has the home field advantage. Whichever team has the higher seed is the home team in that particular game. What that means is the lowest seeded team, Seattle in the American League and Miami in the National League, will never play a home game. But that's kind of the advantage I give in the tournament. At least this playthrough. So again, if you want to check out anything, head over to baseballmaelstrom.com. You can head over there, see the up-to-date stats, game recaps, all of that fun stuff. If you have any comments, I'd love to hear those down below. What you think so far of the league. We are halfway through the first round, or the first day, I should say. Looking forward to playing the next half of the day, seeing how that shapes out. And yeah, play about 4 games a week or so you'll see a video approximately once a week with the updates. And that's where we will leave things today. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, have a great evening.